தமிழ். அது ஒவ்வொருத்தருக்கு 10 மினிட்ஸ் கொடுப்பாங்க, பேசலாம், கதை பேசலாம், கவிதைகள் சொல்லலாம்.
சரி சரி சரிங்க மேம். ஓகே, அது வந்து லாஸ்ட் சண்டே நடக்கும். இன்னைக்கு 7 மணிக்கு நடந்தது.
7 to 8:30.
ஓ சரி சரி சரிங்க.
மேம் அது எவ்ரி மந்த் லாஸ்ட் சண்டே.
ஓ ஓகே ஓகே. ஓ சேவா மேம். ஓகே சேவா மேம் தானா? வணக்கம் மேம்.
குட் மார்னிங்.
வணக்கம் சேவா மேம். வணக்கம் சுவாமிநாதன் சார்.
மார்னிங் என்ன மேம் டைம் இருக்கு?
மார்னிங் இங்கே 10, இங்கே வந்து 10 AM மேம். காலைல 10 மணி.
நல்ல வேளைக்கு இந்த 6:30 மணி 7 மணிலாம் இல்லை.
ஆமாம் ஆமாம். 7 o'clock செஷன் வந்து 8:30க்கு வரும். இது வந்து
8:30 ரொம்ப early தான். எந்திரிக்கணும். வீக்கெண்ட் போது கொஞ்சம் கஷ்டமா இருக்கு.
ரிமைண்டர் போடுவோமா? 2 minutes வெயிட்
பண்ணலாம். செஷன் ஓபன்ல ஜென்ட் பண்ணியாச்சு.
ஓகே ஓகே.
குட் ஈவினிங் மேம்.
நானும் ஒரு ரிமைண்டர் மட்டும் போட்டுறேன் குரூப்ல. ஓகே. இது 8:35 ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணலாமா மேம்? 2 minutes வெயிட் பண்ணிட்டு.
வரட்டும்.
சரி சரி. ஓகே மேம்.
வெல்கம் சார்.
வெல்கம் குணா சார். வெல்கம்.
வெல்கம்மா வெல்கம். உங்க போஸ்ட் பார்த்த உடனே ஓடியாந்துட்டேன்.
ஓ थैंक यू.
ஒரு 5 மினிட்ஸ்.
थैंक यू.
ஒரு 5 மினிட்ஸ்ல ஆரம்பிக்கலாம் மேடம்.
ஓகே மேம். ஓகே.
கொஞ்சம் வரட்டும். குட் ஈவினிங். வெல்கம் ஷீலா.
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, Sheila.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, sir. CT இன்னொரு ஐடியில ஜாயின் பண்ணிருக்காங்க. Good evening, good evening, sir.
அம்மா ஏதோ ஒரு சவுண்ட் வந்துகிட்டே இருக்கு.
ஓ அது
சாந்தா மேடம் அவங்களோட மைக். சாந்தா
சார் ரிசீவ் பண்ணோம், அதுக்கப்புறம் நான் ஆஃப் பண்ணிடுவேன்.
ஓகே
ஓகேம்மா ஓகேம்மா
ஓகே ஓகே. ஓகே மேடம், ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணலாம்னு நினைக்கிறேன். நிறைய பேர் இருக்காங்க.
ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிடுங்க மேடம். ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிடுங்க.
நீங்க இன்ட்ரோடக்ஷன்
கொடுத்துறேன்.
சரி.
Good evening, all of you. My name is Sanda. I am your host today. All of us meet at the ReadForte for the last 3 years. Here, anyone can talk about any book and in any language. We will send you a calendar at the beginning of evening every month. Fill in the free slot and send it to us. welcome speakers. Today's speaker is Chitra Madam Avargal. Today's topic questions behind question language English. Thank you. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you, madam. Thank you. Thank you, madam. Okay, good evening to all of you. Uh, Thank you for taking this time to join this session, uh, taking your Sunday time to join the session. And before starting, I would like to wish you all happy Friendship Day. And we will get started. Hope my screen is visible, ma'am. Um, okay.
Are you recording?
Yes, sir. Yes, I have started
Uh,
recording
good,
also,
good, 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 good.
and I am sharing screen. Okay. Okay. So we'll get started. Thank you, everyone. Today's book is about the questions behind the questions. So this is a book uh, which was written by the author John G. Miller, and the core idea of this book is about personal accountability and responsibility, and how to handle the things in life by taking the accountability towards the situation, and moving away from the victim mindset, and moving towards solution based approach. So that's the core idea of this book. And if to give a background, a brief background about the author, John Miller, and his first book was about the personal accountability. And this book, which we are discussing today, is question behind question. We can call it shortly as QBQ. Um, so that book is also based on the primary idea about the personal accountability. So to give a brief background about the author, uh, he's from Denver, Colorado, and he's running an organization QBQ, and he's conducting a lot of trainings in all the organizations, and leadership trainings with a concept of personal accountability, and also on the concept of how to use QBQ concept. And the other books he has written are like a few are like flipping the switch, and there is also one book on parenting using the QBK uh, approach, and there is another book outstanding. So these are the books he has written, and today we are going to learn from this book QBQ. So the first important thing that we are going to learn is about how to ask the right questions. So we uh, ask a lot of question within us in each of the situation and each thing that happens in our life, and the question that we ask within ourselves is very important, because the answers that we get from ourselves is also depends on what question we ask ourselves. And this book teaches us how to ask good questions within us. So we will learn how to ask uh, good questions with taking the personal accountability. And as we know, like the answers are always in the questions, and what question we ask, that purely drives us direct, gives us a direction towards the answer that we get for those questions. So in general, like if we look at it, like the questions that we generally ask within ourselves are something like whenever something goes wrong, we ask questions like why is this happening to me, or why is this like why don't they why did they drop the ball, like these are the questions we ask many times in our life. And if we take a little if we just think about these questions, like what kind of answer we get from ourselves, most of the time the answer we get are not helpful for us. So these are the questions, some example questions, and to think the which does not give us a good answer from within us, also sometimes take us in a negative or uh, victim mindset direction. So to understand the personal accountability and QBQ, we will just hear about one story from the author's life, and then we'll go back to learning how to ask questions. So this is story about the author. Once he goes for to a restaurant for a lunch, and he was kind of in a busy. He was kind of busy, and he wanted to quickly grab something, eat lunch quickly, and go back to his work. And when he went to the restaurant, he was waiting for the waiter, and one of the waiter he came to him, and he was busy with lunch rush. But he asked the author, "Okay, did you get any help, sir?" And then author was saying, "No, sir, no one has helped me yet. Could you please grab me something quickly? I just need some salad and rolls, and also diet coke." And the waiter says, "Sure, I'll grab that for you, sir. And also, like, I'm sorry that we do not have Pepsi. I mean, we do not have diet coke, but we only have Pepsi. So can I bring that for you?" And then the author says, like, I'm good with lemon water. So please bring that for me." So author was happy with that, and the waiter he brings the food, and after that, after few minutes, like, the waiter comes back and gives him the uh, diet coke bottle to the author, and then the author gets surprised. So he was saying, um, "I'm good with the lemon water, right? So why did you bring this?" He asked with curiosity. And then the waiter says, "Sorry, sir, you wanted to have a diet coke, right?" And then that strike the author. Okay, so what the waiter is trying to do is he wants to fulfill my need to have a satisfying meal, and that is why he took that extra mile to bring that diet coke for me. But he was still curious, and he was asking more questions to the waiter. "But I saw you running here and there. How come did you get time to go and get this for me?" And then the answer from the waiter was so interesting. "No, sir, I just sent my manager to bring that for you." So it was so mind blowing for him when he got to know that, because he could see the kind of empowerment he the employee have, that he is able to take help from his manager. So, and he was pondering over this, and he was just thinking, how much personal accountability was that waiter taking, just in order to make the customer happy, to have a satisfied experience in the restaurant. So the one thing that we can learn from this story is, like, what questions would the waiter would have asked within him when he was saying that he couldn't serve him with a diet coke, that the author was asking. So he thought, will I be really able to help the author customer to have him, to give him the satisfied and happy experience in the restaurant? So that was the kind of uh, thought or the question that would have gone inside the mind of the waiter. So this is kind of an example, very good example, to understand that personal accountability, what he is talking about in this book. And the next important topic he is talking here is about the choices that we have. This is very closely related to the seven habits which we learned, the seven habits of highly effective people. The first habit was about the being proactive, where that habit was mainly talking about the freedom that we have to choose in any kind of situation. So the same thing is the same topic has been discussed in this book about the choice. So in any kind of situation, there is always a choice, and sometimes we say to ourselves that we do not have a choice and we have to do this. So that is not really true, and the lesson we need to ponder over is that we always have the freedom of choice. And even if you're not making any choice, or if you're not making any decision, that is also one of the choice. So that's what he's talking about. And the more interesting thing about the choice is, like, we can see the effect of good choice and the bad choice. And with with an example, like a model, we can take this model of goat heads. So goat heads, I'll tell you what is goat heads. Like, these are like small thorns on the road, uh, which will prick our leg when we walk on it, or by mistake if we step on it, and it may cause a lot of pain. So we can take this analogy and we can relate it as the bad choices as the goat heads. Like, what are all the bad choices? Like, in a given situation, the bad choices could be to blame, complain, or procrastinate on things. So these can be, and also like the wrong or negative thoughts that we have. So just imagine in a day, if you just had one or two bad thoughts in your mind, it will be like it would have spoiled your entire day. Like the pain of that goat heads when it pricks us, our leg, how it pains, like it would have spoiled our entire day. So this is like a very good analogy or something we can use to relate to the bad choices that we make, and then we can move towards the better choices. And another outcome of bad choices might be the stress. Like, when we make some bad choice, then it might definitely, it might cause stress, and it might result in stress. So for example of the blame, or like blaming someone for a given situation, we get into the victim state, and then we blame someone. Because of that, we will get stressed. And this is something which is very closely related to the concept of the freedom of choice. So we always think that there is no choice, and we end up get stressed, including me. Like, I was also, I should admit this honestly, I was also stressed last few days, and I recognize that it's purely based on the choices that I made. And one of the other thing, other than the blame, the another thing that the choice that made I made in my example is to blaming others and also blaming myself, and getting into a self sabotage mode and not forgiving my own mistakes. So this these kind of choices, it will not allow us to think in a better direction, and these choices will result us in stress. So I would like to closely relate this to the one which we learnt in the book Power versus Force, the emotional state that we are in, and the kind of energy we feel within ourselves. So the lowest, I know, like many of us, we might not have joined that session, but I'll just give you a uh, brief background on that. So in that, what we learned was the emotional state and the energy that we have depends on the scale. There is a scale, and you can see the emotional state and also the energy levels of the scale. So the least energy levels that you will be in is on the emotional state of shame and guilt. So when we are in the state of shame and guilt, we'll be at the least energy, and then also like other things like grief, fear, anger, pride, courage, and all that. These are the energy levels up the ladder. And the interesting thing is like the guilt and shame is even lesser energy than anger. And so this is something closely related to the stress and the choices that we make. So when we take better choices, we will be in a better emotional state and also in the better energy levels. So this was closely related to that concept we learned in the Power versus Force book. So I thought of just connecting that for you. And then let's move on to the better choices. So when we make better choices, we always look for solution and answer. So how can we find a solution for this? How can we be part of the, how can I contribute to find a solution for this? That is the better choice that we can make, and that comes from the self personal accountability. So in order to become more personally accountable, the spirit of QBQ is mainly based on the personal accountability. In order to be personally accountable, author is giving a guideline of 3 steps. So first step is the questions we ask. Start asking the questions what or how instead of asking why, when, or who. So let me explain the context. What or how, in the sense, how can I help in this situation? Or like how, what can I do to improve the situation? How can I do my job better to change the situation? These are the questions which we can call it as QBQs. And the opposite of this question is like why, when, or who. Like why me? Why is it happening to me? Or why don't others work harder? Why don't they understand? Why do they make it so difficult for me? So these are the questions which will put us in the victim mindset. So this will not help us to help us in any way, and that is the reason why uh, we we need to move towards the QBQ instead of the IQ. That is the incorrect questions. So the second guideline here is ask the questions with I. In the sense, always focus on the question should be for us, not for others. Like all these questions say, how can I support? How can I help? How can I do my job better? So all these questions we only talk about I, not they, we, or you, or like putting this question to anyone else. So that's the second guideline for the personal accountability. And the third guideline is focusing on the action, what needs to be taken, and focusing on the solution, what solution we can provide or be a part of in this for this situation. So these are the 3 guidelines author is giving. So ask questions what or how in a way to what can I do or how can I help, and the question should be I instead of they or like we. Even if you consider you're working as a team, uh, the question, if we ask the question in the way as we, then sometimes we will not end up taking any action. So that's why he is specifying that we need to ask the question with I, and focusing on the solution, and being a answer for the solution of the problem. So that is the 3 guidelines given in this book. And as we discussed about the wrong choices, like the outcome of question and blame, uh, who questions, like who did this, who made the mistake, all this will result in finding the scapegoats instead of finding the answer for the problem. Also, it will uh, start becoming a blame storm. Instead of doing a brainstorm, we will end up doing blame storm, and it will be counterproductive. So people will get defensive, and we will end up becoming counterproductive. So that is why the blame questions will become the will cause the uh, people to become scapegoats instead of working towards the solution. And one example, one example story I would like to give from the book is about one air, air hostess. So the author was flying in a flight uh, to some place, and on that day it was like too much. The flight was too crowded, and people were in tents because they didn't get space to put their luggage, and the environment was full in tension. And since they overbooked the flight, the crew was taking a lot of time to make the passengers sit, and then it also delayed the takeoff for more than an hour. So during that time, one of the air hostess, instead of stressing about, okay, I have to work additional hour today, I don't know whether I'll get paid for this additional hour I'm working, and all those kind of thinking, she was trying to make the environment little relaxed, and reducing the stress in the environment by walking to each customer, each traveler, and then asking, would you like to have headphones, or are you traveling alone, ma'am? Would you like some company? So, like that, she was walking around with a cheerful face, and talking to each passenger to make them feel little relaxed and come out of the tension. So the author was looking and noticing this air hostess, and he was very inspired by the way she responded to that situation. Instead of getting frustrated and for working more extra hour, she was taking the personal accountability, and thinking the question that she would have asked in her mind was, okay, um, I know the environment is stressed and the people are stressed. What can I do to make this better from my side? So that is the question that she would have asked inside herself, and the result of that is shown in her action, the way she was talking to the passengers and making them feel better uh, by helping them with whatever service they wanted. So that is one inspiring story about the personal accountability. And one other example in the book is about sports. Like uh, author was playing wrestling during his college days. Whenever he goes to the match, before the match, his dad used to give him some guidelines. So his dad used to tell him that you should beat three people in this match. That is beating yourself, beating the opponent, and also you need to beat the referee. So this was very new to him, and he was asking his dad, what do you mean by beating the referee? I understood that beating myself or beating the opponent is something which I can understand. But what do you mean by beating the referee? So the dad answers him to give him more clarity. He says that you should not be bargaining for the points. It should be obvious that you got that point, and that's how you need to play. You should not be bargaining with the referee. The referee should be beaten by just looking at the way you perform, not by not by you trying to convince him for each and every points. So that's what I mean by beat the referee. So always remember to do your best and make the points. You should earn the points, obviously, without being able to bargain with the referee. So that was very powerful example uh, about this topic, beat the referee. So this is for the personal accountability story in sports. So and one more example for personal accountability, how it impacts an organization. The benefits of an organization when all the employees they follow the personal accountability are it gives like immense benefits like people become more productive, they work together, they work, they communicate better, they solve problems. So there are endless number of benefits when people in an organization they work with personal accountability. So to give one example, I want to quote the example of Dave Ramsey. He's an economist and he runs some Ramsey show by giving some guidance to people, financial advice to the people, and he has invited the author John Miller to many of his shows to discuss and talk about this book and the topics, the personal accountability and QBQ, and he's a fan of this concept QBQ, and he made all his employees to read the book and follow the QBQ principle. And he has also mentioned in his show that it impacted his organization in a great way, and and also he impacted him as a person personally, and also the organization level. It created a great impact. So that is something a real life example of the um, Dave Ramsey who followed this QBQ technique, and he's kind of a fan of this also. And there are a lot other leaders uh, who are following that, but I just want to give one example. So this is all about this book, and to summarize what we learned. So the first one is the personal accountability, how much the personal accountability is important, and how it can change our life. And the second thing we learned is we always have the freedom to choose how to respond, whether to choose to whether we are taking the bad choice or the good choice, and the productive choice or the counterproductive choice. And the third thing is how to ask questions to ourselves, which will increase our accountability, and also it will impact our life in all the aspect. And we have to, and the last thing that we learned is about how to take action to solve, instead of looking at it uh, like a victim in a situation, how we can get into the problem solver or the solution for the problem, and that is about the action to solve. So this summarizes what we learned from this book, and I would like to hear from all our uh, seniors also about their personal experience and guidance, which will help me and other audience also to improve ourselves as a, to make ourselves as a better person. So thank you very much for listening. uh, Thank you so much, and yeah, I'd like to open the forum for discussion. Thank you.
Before you start that, Chitra, thank you very much for bringing this on my request. And for the benefit of people who joined later, including me, can you just summarize those three steps alone, so that
Yeah,
could,
yes,
yeah,
sure, sir. So I'll go to that three guidelines. I'll
yeah, three guys.
yeah, I'll reiterate that. So the three guidelines is for the personal accountability. The spirit of QBQ is personal accountability, And in order to take the personal accountability, we need to follow these 3 steps. The first thing is ask questions within yourself with what or how, instead of asking the question why, when, or who. So when will the situation, like instead of asking like why am I facing this kind of a tough situation, or when will this get resolved, or when will they take some action, or who is responsible for this, who did this mistake, who dropped the ball. So all these questions are counterproductive. Instead of asking this question, we have to ask QBQs, that is, ask what or how. What can I do? How can I help? How can I make things better? Is This is the first guideline. So this itself will take take us in the direction of solution. And the second important point is about the I questions. So it's all about me. So personal accountability is all about me. What am I going to do? That is all about the personal accountability. Forget about they, forget about you, like the opposite person or we and all that. Just think about I. And the third one is focusing on solution. Okay, how can we make the situation better? This is the solution. What action can we take to solve this? So that is the third guideline, focusing on the action, what we need to do towards the solution. So that is the 3 guidelines, and this is the core guidelines from this book. Um, yes, sir. So is this helpful, sir?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I think sure. I think we can open the forum for discussion, and we can um, let people also to share their.
Santa ma'am, you can call the people based on the hand raise.
Yeah. Okay. I think
I am the first one.
Vinay
Sir
go ahead.
raised first, so okay, we can let him. Yeah, we
Very
can go.
nice, very nice session. A lot of points I could learn from this session. If put it for Mr. Sengu's final question, you summarized this book. Very nice summary. We have choices. விலங்குக்கெல்லாம் சாய்ஸ் இல்லைங்கிறாங்க. சாய்ஸ் தான் அவங்க இருக்கா இல்லையான்னு தெரியல. ஆனா சாய்ஸ் நம்ம தான் நிறைய எடுக்கிறோம். மனிதர்களுக்கு தான் அது ஸ்பெஷல்ங்கிறாங்க. நன்மையும் தீமையும் நாடி நலம் புரிந்த தன்மையால் ஆயப்படும். நன்மையும் தீமையும் நாடி நலம் புரிந்த தன்மையா. அதுக்கு நல்ல கொஸ்டின்ஸ், அதாவது வாட் ஆர் ஹவ், அந்த 2 கொஸ்டின்ல நீங்க ஆரம்பிங்க. நீங்க ஹூன்னு ஆரம்பிச்சுட்டோம்னா அப்ப பிளேம் பண்ண ஆரம்பிச்சிடும். கில்ட்டி வந்துருது. யாரு இதை தப்ப செஞ்சா, ஏன் தப்ப செஞ்சாங்க அப்படிலாம் இல்லாம, ஏன் அது அந்த 2 கொஸ்டின்ஸ், வாட் ஆர் ஹவ் கேன் ஐ சால்வ் இட், வாட் இஸ் நெக்ஸ்ட், அது 2 ரொம்ப அருமையான கொஸ்டின். அதுக்கு நிறைய சொன்னீங்க. ஆஸ்க் அந்த ஐ கொஸ்டின், அதுல வீட விட சேரக்கூடாது. அப்ப நோமேன்ஸ் லேண்ட் ஆயிடும். எதை சேர்த்தோம்னா, யாரையாவது ஒரு ஆளை சேர்த்தோம்னா அவங்க பாத்துக்குவாங்க, அவங்க செய்வாங்கன்னு விட்டுருவோம். நம்ம செய்யணும், ஐ டூ அப்படிங்கிறது தான். அது ரொம்ப 2வது கைட்லைனு. 3வது கைட்லைனு அந்த அக்கௌண்டபிலிட்டிக்கு என்ன சொன்னீங்க, ஃபோக்கஸ் ஆன் த சொல்யூஷன், வாட் நெக்ஸ்ட், வாட் கேன் பி டன்ங்கிறது தான் முக்கியமே வழிய யாரு பண்ணா என்ன பண்ணா. நீங்க 2-3 விஷயம் நல்லா சொன்னீங்க. அதாவது பிளேமிங், அது யாருன்னு பாக்குற போது பிளேமிங் வந்துடும். அங்க ஒரு கில்ட்டி வந்துடும். கில்ட் வந்துட்டா அது சரியா வராது. ரொம்ப சிறப்பா சொன்னீங்க. ரொம்ப வெரி நைஸ் செஷன். wholeheartedly appreciate you. நல்ல இம்ப்ரூவ்மெண்ட் இருக்கு. நீங்க ஃபர்ஸ்ட் புக் பர்சன்டேஷனுக்கு இந்த புக் பர்சன்டேஷனுக்கு ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ரொம்ப நாளைக்கு முன்னாடி 1 இயருக்கு முன்னாடி இருந்ததுக்கு இப்ப ரொம்ப அருமையா இருக்கு. உங்களுக்கு பாராட்டி வாழ்த்து மகிழ்ந்தேன். நன்றி
சார். தேங்க்யூ சார்.
சார் குணா சார் உங்க ஃபீட்பேக் கொடுங்க. குணா சார்.
Fantastic. General சொல்றது the quality of life depends on the questions we ask. இந்த டாபிக்ல நிறைய life choices by
Sir, Guna sir, can you just a moment, Guna sir, sorry. Santa ma'am, can you mute yourself? Our fan sound அதிகமா இருக்கு ma'am. Santa ma'am, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Santa ma'am, please mute yourself. Santa ma'am, கேட்டுறீங்களா?
இருக்கு சார்.
மியூட் பண்ணிக்க மேம், உங்க ஃபேன் சவுண்ட் அதிகமா இருக்கு. Sorry Guna, go ahead.
Okay, fine. The quality of life depends on the quality of questions we ask. இந்த புக்கு தலைப்பு பார்த்தோன்னே எனக்கு ரொம்ப பிடிச்சு போச்சு. உடனே வந்து ஜாயின் பண்ணிட்டேன். இப்போ தான் பார்த்தேன். அந்த கரெக்டாக 8:30 எனக்கு ஒரு டப் பண்ணி ஜாயின் பண்ணிட்டேன். இதில் என்ன பெரிய விஷயம்னா, இந்த டாப்பிக்கில் நிறைய புக்ஸ் இருக்குது. தி லைஃப் சாய்ஸஸ் பை ஷேர்ட் ஹெல்ம்ஸ்டெட்டர். இது வந்து திஸ் இஸ் த ஃபர்ஸ்ட் புக். ஐ தாட் அதுலேயே இதே சாய்ஸஸ் பற்றி நிறைய டீட்டெயிலாக சொல்கிறாங்க. பட் திஸ் இஸ் டோட்டலி டிஃப்ரெண்ட். அதில் வந்து நிறைய எலாபரேட்டாக இருந்தது. பட் இது வந்து ரொம்ப கிறிஸ்பாக மேடம் சொன்னாங்க. ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் நிறைய இந்த ஒய் ஸ்டார்ட் வித் ஒய் இந்த மாதிரி சைமன் செனக் ஒரு புக்கு கூட இருக்குது. இந்த மாதிரி நிறைய புக்ஸ் இந்த இதில் கூட ஒரு அந்த பியர்சனில் கூட 2 புக்ஸ் இதே டாப்பிக்கில் இருக்குது. பட் திஸ் இஸ் ஒன் ஆஃப் தி ஃபேண்டாஸ்டிக், சிம்பிள், கிறிஸ்ப் அண்ட் ரொம்ப பியூட்டிஃபுல். என்ன கேட்டால் சித்ரா மேம் ப்ரெசென்ட் பண்ணதுலேயே திஸ் இஸ் ஒன் ஆஃப் தி ஃபைனஸ்ட் ப்ரெசன்டேஷன் நான் சொல்லலாம். ஏன்னா இதுக்கு முன்னாடி இருந்தது அந்த இதில் இந்த 7 ஹேபிட்ஸ் இதெல்லாம் வந்து ரொம்ப எலாபரேட்டாக இருந்தது. பட் இது வந்து ரொம்ப கிறிஸ்பாக ரொம்ப பியூட்டிஃபுல்லாக இருந்தது. ஐ ரியலி என்ஜாய்ட் இட். நிஜமாவே எனக்கு வந்து இதில் வந்து ஒரு நிறைய இன்ஃபர்மேஷன் கிடைச்சதுன்னு நான் சொல்லணும். ஆசம், அது எனக்கு கரெக்டாக சொல்லணும். ரொம்ப ஃபேண்டாஸ்டிக். தேங்க்யூ ஸோ மச்.
தேங்க்யூ சார். தேங்க்யூ ஸோ மச். தேங்க்ஸ் ஃபார் யுவர் டைம். ஓகே, யா ஷூர். I think our audience they're requesting to share comments also in English. So okay. Okay. Anyone else want to
feedback கொடுக்கலாம்?
வணக்கம் மேடம், ரொம்ப அருமையா இருந்தது உங்களுடைய ப்ரெசன்டேஷன். QBQ ரொம்ப சிறப்பு. அதாவது பிரெயின் ஸ்டார்ம், பிளேம் ஸ்டார்ம், அது வந்து ரொம்ப இன்ட்ரெஸ்டிங்காக இருந்தது. உண்மைதான், அது வந்து பிளேம் பண்ணுறது வந்து ஈஸி தானே. ஏன்னா எதுக்கு எடுத்தாலும் இப்போ நேருன்னு சொல்லிட்டோம்னா பிரச்சனை முடிஞ்சது பாருங்க. அது மாதிரி பிளேம் பண்ணாமல் பிரெயின் ஸ்டார்ம் பண்ணுறது வந்து நல்ல ஒரு கான்செப்ட் நீங்கள் சொன்னீங்க. ரொம்ப நன்றி. உங்களுடைய உரை நல்லா இருந்தது. அதுதான் வந்து அப்துல் கலாம் வந்து இந்த ஸ்பேஸ் SLV அதுக்கு வந்து அவர் டைரக்டரா இருக்கும்போது சதீஷ் தவான் தான் ISRO சேர்மனா இருந்தாரு, இஸ்ரோட சேர்மன்.
அப்போ sir, are you comfortable sharing in English, sir? So for the audience.
Oh yeah, okay. So
okay, just for audience also.
Sure, no problem.
Thank you,
I'll
sir.
try to speak. Try to speak in English. It was a great presentation. I really enjoyed the blame game and blame storm and the brainstorm. Then one thing is the blame thing is like when Abdul Kalam was the director of the project SLV 3, I think, and then at that time the Satish Dhawan was the chairman of the ISRO, right? And when first one is failed, but Satish Dhawan, if he is a very selfish person, or if he's a different person, he would have said that you go and meet the press and explain to them what the problem, why you failed. But he said that you go home, Abdul, I will take care of this. So he went to the media and he explained to the media that what happened. And then when it was second time, when it was success, then Satish Dhawan disappeared. He told you go and meet the press. So what a leadership, right? So the blame game illanga. That's what I'm trying to say. There was no blame. It's a responsibility. Taking the responsibility, even though
he's not directly doing it, but he giving the responsibility also to his fellow employees, and then fellow colleagues. So that's what really great. And your presentation was very nice. Thank you very much. Really appreciate, madam. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So Abdul Kalam's manager, and in that situation, what he thought was, how can I help the team in this situation? And that's why probably he went on and took that, and he was talking to the media, and he might definitely know the kind of stress his team was going through after a failure. So that was a good example, Mohan sir. Thank you. Thank you for adding that.
Thank you.
Others might.
Can I add to that?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Most of the time, we talk about how to handle others. This question, asking questions. See, if, for example, if we ask question about ourselves, why I am here, why I am not getting a good job or something like that, then we will definitely improve. But this book talks more about personal accountability. That's a great thing. Generally, we ask questions to others, but in this case, we are asking questions about ourselves, and it is meant for purely on personal accountability. So this is when you refer. I mean, what's the same? Any refinement it should start with ours. So that is the main
Yeah.
reason. And in case, this is really fantastic. Personal accountability, QBQ, personal accountability, this is fantastic.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Guna sir. Okay, we'll see if others want to talk. Manikya Rao. Yeah, please go ahead. Manikya Rao. I think he. Sorry if it's.
Others back, sir.
Yeah, please go ahead. I couldn't hear you.
Manikya Rao, are you trying to speak? We couldn't hear you. Can you just mute and unmute and try again? Is he
Okay.
audible? Is anyone speaking? Sorry, no,
Yeah,
right?
you are
I got-
audible, Singhu sir.
okay, so I think
But I think we'll wait for Manikya Rao.
while we wait for
Meanwhile,
him,
we can ask if others want to add anything.
anybody else wants to add? Otherwise, I will go. Thank you, Chitra, for taking up my request and doing this as early as possible. And I'm sure it's a very good read. You must have found it very easy to read because I've read this book. So it is a very easy read, small book, but very effective, simple and effective book. Um, so I read it with a purpose because I was working with Chinese in a particular project. So where this book is so it's like on basic book for in Chinese organization where all the managers would always be directed to this QBQ book because they always have this tendency to ask questions. So internalize and externalize, both internalize and externalize. I see some similarities as you've also presented 7 habits here, and also the 8th habit. And I'm sure you must have felt little connection between the 7 habits and this book. So in terms of the first habit, in the foundation, Stephen Covey talks about transition person, right?
Yeah.
So between
Yes.
within the stimulus and response, there is a choice. So there's a choice that we
Yes.
make. So that defines how proactive or reactive you are as a person, as a leader. So I think that is one relevance I could see where this book also talks about the choices, Okay, between what happened and how you react or respond to that situation. The choice is always ours. And the author talks about what choice we should make. So as right now Guna also rightly pointed out, this book is purely about personal accountability. Okay, so in the same Seven Habits, Stephen Covey talks about circle of concern and circle of influence, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right, circle of concern and circle of influence. We can always, it's very easy for any ordinary person to act from a circle of concern and make others wrong, right, by pointing fingers and externalizing things. So the process is not all right, the materials is not all right, the team is not all right, the recruitment is not all right, the supplies are not quality enough, and all these things. So I'm not paid enough and all these things. So instead of externalizing, so that's easy for anyone to do, that's acting from a circle of concern. Instead, acting from influences, yes, in the current situation, think how you can contribute, right? That's what talks about circle of concern, circle of influence. I see a great correlation with this book and the second point they're driving, where instead of externalizing by asking who did it, when it happened, okay, and all of those questions, it's better to neutralize and focus on cut down on the people and focus on the process or what exactly happened. And then once you know what happened, and the next step is, okay, instead of blaming others, I think you should see in the current situation how you can contribute. And that is why it is very clearly mentioned as you have to frame a sentence that starts with I, what I could do in the current situation. So these are similarities that I found between Seven Habits and this book. And it's very easy to communicate to your team members and also make them follow this. So very practical steps which anybody can follow. So in any language, if we communicate these steps, I think it just gives a very powerful framework to in a fraction of a second, where we can make this paradigm shift in people's mind from blaming others to taking responsibility. So that's the beauty of this three principles, I find. And thank you very much for making it very simple for all of us. And I think having gone through this book, I think if only we can follow this, and instead of externalizing things and pointing fingers on others, so if we can internalize and ask yourself and see how you can contribute, I think that's a gift that we can give to Chitra. And Chitra, I take this as your gift to me for presenting this book on my request.
Sure, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I do see comments from Manikya Rao, sir, in the chat. Sir, would you like to talk, sir? Yeah. Yes, sir.
I think Sengo has summarized very nicely whatever your talk today. So though I have not been present, but I can see that you have inspired everybody very well. That's great. Nicely done.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So I think the 5 habits which talk about, 7 habits which talk about the individual, then how the team playing gets into synergy, all that is summarized. Now the way the book which I have understood from Sengu's summary is about personal accountability, which talks about the first 3 habits of personal accountability, which is mentioned in 7 habits. And of course, there is one more term called Kaizen. So Kaizen and Ikigai, I don't know whether you have talked about them, but those are the things which I think which are relevant here. And this Ikigai is convergence of your passion, your skill, and the getting into the area where you have the passion and skill, so that the society pays for it. So that's the best situation anybody can have, and then automatically accountability will be there. So that's where the whole thing, because many a time we may feel that it's not in my hand, it's in the other person's hand. So personal accountability, for example, I have gone to an interview and then another person in India has got the job because of a better recommendation, let us say. It's not in your hand. So where is personal accountability coming? So that's where I think the ikigai perspective will really take us to the next step of working out, living out your passion, and choosing a skill, and then the society or and playing in that area, not getting victimized, and then society pays for it. Then Kaizen is another concept which is widely used. And how do I improve my own area of work? That's where personal accountability comes. So generally, we tend to see other people's area and then say, yeah, that fellow could have improved that, this fellow could have improved that, and that management could have done that, or maybe Sachin Tendulkar could have hit like that so that he would have got a century. We are very good at helping others to improve instead of looking at how I can make a difference in my own sphere of influence. So I think the Kaizen and Ikigai are the two concepts which I think with QBQ will help us to move forward in our life and career. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Wonderful points. Thank you so much for adding that, sir.
சிட்டி சார், நீங்க ஃபீட்பேக் கொடுங்க சார்.
Ma'am, I have a question. Can you explain
Yes, sir.
you said something like you always have right to choose. So if I work for an organization and I'm involving into some activity, and if I'm not interested into it, so this is where you're telling you have a choice to accept it or reject it, or switch the company. How do I take it? Could you please explain on this?
So this question is to who, Chitra?
Ma'am was explaining people always have right to choose whether you
Okay.
choose the
Chitra,
right
go
or
ahead.
bad.
And Chitra, go ahead and respond to this question. If need be, I will add some more.
Yeah, please.
Okay. Sure. Okay. So the choice what you're talking here is to in a given situation, we have the freedom to choose how we can respond to that situation. So that is the freedom of choice we learned from this book. So in this given situation, if you are given a task and you are not much interested in doing that, is that the right understanding, sir? The situation of the
Yes.
okay.
You can
So
give
in this
many examples, as many as possible, and everyone too. Yeah.
okay. We will take this one example, sir. So this example where we are given a task and we do not have an interest in performing that. So the bad choice that we can make is that okay, um, this is the situation and I cannot do anything about it. So that is the one kind of victim mindset. Um, the question that we may ask when we are choosing a wrong choice, it will be like, why are they giving this task to me, or why are they asking me to do something which I'm not interested? But if we go to the QBQ mindset, we can ask different questions with using these guidelines, like what can I do to what can I do to change this situation, like improve the situation. Yeah. So when we ask that question, we will get answers like, okay, can I really take some efforts to increase my interest or towards doing this thing? Or can I take some effort to discussing with my manager about my interest and requesting him to give some task that gives me some which is related to my own area of interest. Like that, our mind will open up to the question, the answers towards solving that particular problem instead of thinking in a like we cannot do anything about it, or instead of getting victimized, it will open our mind towards the other options that are available, sir. So it doesn't have to be like, I mean, this is the right answer, but answer what we are seeking will come when we ask that kind of question. So, what can I do to make this situation better in order to not to perform a duty without having much interest in doing that? What can I do to make this situation better and to do the job with interest? So then it will give direction towards a lot of answers, like trying to build that interest or trying to discuss with manager to find something, some work which is more of your area of interest. So that all will start with this question, sir. So that's the importance of that, asking that question. So, but if Sengu sir or if anyone else want to give some different answer
Uh,
also,
Pretty much about that. And CT, have you seen this advertisement? I usually play this video before I talk about the choices. There is this advertisement where there'll be a huge tree which will block the traffic, and there'll be a lot of people stuck in the traffic. So, and that ad
Yeah,
will
I've
talk
seen, yeah.
about, it will show about different people in that situation saying different dialogues. Okay, so lovers would be very much involved in the romance, and there'll be a middle-aged woman asking her husband to do something about it, and then husband would say, "Main kya karunga?" Right? What can I do about it? Right? And then the police and the politician who is stuck in the same traffic will step over the tree and cross to the other side so that the another vehicle is waiting, and he will go past that situation. And there'll be policemen and traffic police. All of them will be sleeping in their jeeps. Okay, and everyone is complaining about the situation, right? Cribbing about the situation. There'll be one schoolboy, tiny little schoolboy, okay, who would drop his school bag and try to push that big trunk, okay, a huge tree. And if you notice, it is not possible, physically not possible for the boy to actually push and clear the tree, right? But he had this attitude, okay, the willingness and the desire to do so. And what happens is it will start raining, and looking at this small boy's effort, and everybody will come and join him. And then they'll start pushing the trunk, and the trunk moves, and the traffic is cleared. Okay, so here I play this video to actually make them understand. In this entire video, everybody else was operating from the circle of concern, complaining, cribbing about the situation, right? So whereas the boy was trying to do something out of his own capacity, though he doesn't have the physical ability, he had this mental ability to, okay, to do this, right? So that's about circle of concern, circle of influence. Now relating with the choices. So the situation, there is another saying, 10% is the situation and it's the same for everyone. Okay, there are 10 people in the room, right? The situation is same to everyone, right? 90% of the choice is with us on how we operate on the situation. Somebody blames it, somebody makes it more negative, somebody takes it in their stride and take ownership and responsibility and act on it and see how they can contribute, right? So, for example, till 12th standard, our parents would let us free, and then at 12th, once we get into 12th standard, they ask us to choose a degree. Sometimes the choice is not given to us. Okay, what course we choose? Our neighbors choose, our uncle choose. Okay, sometimes teachers choose, and sometimes the guy who is giving the application form, he only will decide. Okay, no, so this is what is available, and he will decide. Right? The choice is not with us. So likewise, we can always complain and crib about what has happened to you, and make somebody else responsible for the situation. Right? I couldn't be on time because there was a traffic jam. Right? I have ended up in that small town because my parents married me to this girl. and I got stuck here, right? Right. So likewise, we can always example, and like in professional life, if you want me to give an example, you can always tell people that this guy, this manager doesn't like me. He has some grudge on me, and is purposely doing this. Every single time he's cornering me. He knows very well that I'm not comfortable with this shift, and he purposely putting me in this particular shift, right? So likewise, we can always externalize things, right? And don't assume responsibility, okay, on the situation. On the other hand, we have the choice, okay? If only, if you notice very closely, each and every second in life is a choice that is given to us, and how we make our choices with the current moment, and also on the next moment that is ahead of us. So the choice is always with us. It is just that we need to assume responsibility, have the awareness, number one, and assume responsibility. Many a times we don't want to assume responsibility. Since you brought up an example on work front, with respect to your example, we don't assume responsibility for 2-3 reasons. One, I'm not interested in the job. Why I'm not interested? My interest and passion is different, but I'm just not passionate about what I'm doing. I am in this job just for the sake of salary that I get. Okay, I don't want to do anything extra or anything less. I just want to while away with this package, right? Or the boss has given you some task, and I am not competent enough. I don't have the competency to deal with that particular task. Okay, I may lack skills. Okay, as of now, to cover up that, I may turn the table and point fingers on my manager and complain about him, or complain about my team members, or complain about so many other things. Not assuming responsibility or getting present to the fact that I lack some skills, right? So these could be, so one is a lack of interest, one is lack of competency or skill. And number three, you could be your own personality could be that. Okay, I maybe for some people it could be a personality that they don't assume responsibilities or ownership, right? They always want an approval from others or validation from others. Okay, even for the smallest of things, they will go to somebody else and validate. I'm thinking about going for this A plan without this B plan. Is it okay? So they may have some trusted adult or a mentor or someone with whom they consult and make decisions. So irrespective of all of this, all of us have the choice. Like the boy that he made a choice, right? So 10% of the situation is the same to everyone. 90% is on how we act on that situation, and the choice on acting that situation is with us, is what is told.
Great,
If you
sir.
are
Great
running short
explanation.
of time, if you are not running short of time, I can add a couple of examples.
Sure, sir, please.
Chitra, I
Uh,
need permission.
yeah, I think I will request Shanta ma'am. We can continue for a few minutes, ma'am.
முடிச்சுக்கலாமா?
Can we continue for a few minutes,
Ma'am,
ma'am?
give us
Sir, want to
one,
add?
please, Santa
Yeah.
ma'am, can we give 2 minutes to Manikela? Just 2 minutes, ma'am. We don't hold you. ஒரே ஒரு 2 நிமிஷம் கொடுங்க மேம், மனசு வச்சு பெரிய மனசு வச்சு.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ma'am,
Okay.
நீங்க break எடுக்கணும்னா you can take a break, ma'am. I will try to
Yeah.
like I will handle the admin part. If you want to take a break, ma'am. She's sitting for a long time, so I thought of
And you can also go on mute, madam. Yours is
yeah,
disturbing.
yeah. You can put it on mute and you can take a break.
Okay. So I would like to just give the example from Seven Habits again. So there he describes one example. A person was just getting ready for a promotion interview, and then he plans well in advance. The boss has asked him to come at 9:30 sharp, so he was there in time for the breakfast 8:30. Then half an hour he should be in his office. So very comfortably planned, and then 8:15 he is there for the breakfast. And then suddenly his son saw him coming, child just about third standard or second standard. He comes running and says, "Daddy," and then jumps at his dad. At the time, the dad was picking up the tea and then he was just about to sip, and the boy comes and hits him. Then immediately the tea spills. So he's a choice now. What is the choice? He can just bang the fellow because the entire shirt is spilled. He's just in a hurry to go to the interview, and so that boy he gets very angry and beats the boy. Then what happens? He exercised one choice. Immediately, rest of the things follow. The boy refuses to eat breakfast, and then the bus comes, and then it leaves because the boy was not ready. The wife was angry. Wife said, "You better go and drop this fellow in the school." And then he was telling, "I have a promotion interview. I don't care. You better drop him, otherwise he will lose his school." So he runs immediately, changes the dress, runs, and then drops the boy in school, and he gets a speeding ticket. So a whole sequence of events follow where the whole thing has become miserable, and then he was late by 10 minutes to the interview, and the boss got angry. "I told you 9:30 sharp and you're late." And then he got for speeding, he gets a ticket, and he has to wait at the gate because he was late to the school with the child. So all this whole sequence puts off, and by the time he reaches back home, having lost the interview, his wife was very upset, his child was upset. How the day has become. Now, the same fellow had another choice. Instead of getting angry, this is what is called emotional intelligence. He could have made a choice. Okay, my child is so happy with me, and then he says, "Arey yaar, be careful. See my shirt spoiled. Let me go change my dress. Thank you so much for being so loving. Today I have an interview. Will you wish me?" Then he'll say, "Dad, wish you all the best." And then the child happily eats the food and then goes to boards the bus. He goes, changes the shirt in 2 minutes, comes back and goes for the interview well in time, and he's there for the interview in right time. And the boss was very happy. He gives the promotion. He comes back. Child was happy. Wife was happy. He's happy. This is the choice we make in life. Okay. Now, second point which I want to talk about is this is at individual level. Now, how much responsibility we are taking for others also is an important thing that will help you to grow in life. Take Sadhguru, just an example. He has made a choice. Let me see how do I contribute to the global warming. And then what did he do? He motivated everybody to start planting trees. And now, in fact, the river that went dry started getting waters. See, the whole gamut changes once you start taking responsibility for others. So there are several people who started taking responsibility for others and they became big leaders. Even Arvind Kejriwal, when he took responsibility in his earlier avatar before becoming politician, he was well respected. Now I don't want to comment on what he's doing, but more important is once you start taking responsibility for others also, then everybody will look to you. Even your boss will look to you and then say, who should we promote now? Then immediately he'll find, "Arey yaar, this fellow not only takes responsibility for his work. Whenever I am stuck, I just have to remember and call him, and then he is there to help me." And similarly, when others are there, they are stuck somewhere, you call him, "My work is getting done." That assurance you have, that is what is accountability, not only for oneself, but also extending to others, makes him a leader and makes him grow in career very fast. That's all I have to add. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Interesting examples. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Um, Thank you so much. I think Shanta ma'am has been sitting for a long time. I would like to uh, give her the break. So probably, yeah. Thanks everyone for adding all your personal experience and examples. And yeah, ma'am, we can go ahead and wrap up the session if you're okay. Okay. Yeah, I think. Thank you,
Madam,
everyone.
vote ಮಾಡ್ತಾங்க.
Ma'am, drop. I think she has dropped. Shanta ma'am has dropped. So yeah, we can drop. Only Sheila ma'am, you want to add something? I see you are unmuted. I don't know, like if I missed you.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you.
Okay, okay. Thank
Yeah,
you,
thank
thank
you for
you.
taking, and thank you everyone for all the extra information that you gave. It was very valuable. It was well spent. Thank you. All the best.
My personal experience of the choices I made. So you know what is happening in the WhatsApp group. So yesterday I was called for a fight, okay, a verbal fight over phone, okay. So addressing me as, "Are you man enough? Please pick up my call and answer me," to that extent, okay. But I chose to remain silent.
Okay.
Yeah, we were.
That's
This
your
explains
perspective,
it. Yeah.
Sengu. So probably you should also take a perspective from the other person, whether that is sufficient enough or not. Of course, it's a choice based on the past history and all that. So I don't have anything to say on that.
But by the way, you said it now. You could have remained silent. The choice was there for you. You don't know about anything about me,
Yeah,
and you are also claiming that you don't know anything about what happened on the other
true.
side. But you made a choice to make a comment,
Exactly.
and the end of the comment you are making, that is not my comment. So great awareness, sir. Great
Yeah,
awareness.
yeah. That's all. See, my job is only to make people to introspect. That's all. I don't
I
claim
I
anything.
I think
Yeah.
the choice that is talking about in this book is personal accountability. I think you'll
Yeah.
start your introspection with you before doing it for others. I think that will be grateful,
Sure, sure.
because
Okay.
I am a person who practice whatever I read and I preach people.
Hmm.
Okay, so from that I can confidently say.
No, I know that others may be intrigued with our conversation. Still, at a risk of that, let me tell I have understood the background and I just politely said that not to hurt you or anything. But it's a question of introspection.
How did you understood the background? We never interacted.
No,
You have
the
no
two, three
information.
mails.
You have
Two,
no
three,
information, Mr. Banikirao.
true,
So
true,
you
true,
are
true.
making it one-sided. Okay, you are just saying you should introspect on both sides, and
Yeah, I
you never
know.
discuss this with me. Without
Yeah.
discussing with me, you are making conclusions. That means you are you are.
Fine.
I know what kind of
Yeah.
decisions you have made. Thank you.
Okay. So even now you know my decisions based on my message, right? And also based on this talk. So still you say that you don't know anything. No, all of us know about based on the context we know something. So it's just that all of us should introspect, look at whether we have done the best, whether something else can be done. Love all, serve all, help ever, hurt never. This is the philosophy. Once you start taking it, then you will become a lovable character. Saira, thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you, everyone. I think everyone has shared their points. So, are we okay to wind up the call?
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very nice.
Yeah. I would like to thank you, Sengu sir, for explaining so many things. Yeah. Thank you from your experience as well. Thank you.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you, CT. Sir, your full name,
Thank you,
sir?
everybody. Good night.
CT. Uh, your name shows CT, sir. May I know your full name, sir?
I'm Chittardhan. You can call City. That's fine. Thank you.
Sibi. Okay.
CB from Canada.
No. Siddharthan, Thangaraj. You can call City. That should be
CT
fine.
CT CT.
CT. Oh,
Yeah.
Siddharthan. Okay. Okay. Okay, sir. Sure. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, CT, sir. Thank you, Sengu, sir. Thank you, Guna, sir. Meet you all in another wonderful session. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Thank
your
you.
time.
Bye.
Thank you very
Bye.
much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.